Tired of the negativity? Looking for a shot of optimism? Well, I have an inspiring story to make you smile right after this. This episode of Misfits and Crackpots is brought to you by the Well-Crafted Story Workshop. Struggling to connect with your audience and attract new clients? Transform your speaking skills at the Well-Crafted Story Workshop with Coach Jimmy Hayes Nelson and yours truly, Dr. Danny Brissell. In just 2 days, master the art of crafting compelling speeches that convert listeners into clients. Whether in-person or virtual, you'll get personalized attention in an intimate group, learning not just from expert coaches, but from fellow entrepreneurs. Don't let another opportunity slip away. Get your free story blueprint today at wellcraftedstoryworkshop.com and turn your story into your most powerful business tool. Your success starts here. Visit wellcraftedstoryworkshop.com now. You're just a well-crafted story away from 7 figures. Hello there, my friend, and welcome to Misfits and Crackpots. Short, inspiring stories for busy people. I'm Dr. Danny Brissell. This is a podcast for those interested in extraordinary stories about ordinary people and companies. Consider it your dose of positivity and inspiration for the week. Before we dive into today's episode, I wanted to take a moment to apologize in advance for any mispronunciations you might hear. Today we'll be highlighting several famous people and places with particularly challenging names to pronounce. While I've done my research and made every effort to say each name correctly, I may still get some wrong, despite my best intentions. I have the utmost respect for all the individuals and cultures we discuss, and any mispronunciations are never intentional. Thank you for understanding, and now, let's explore today's fascinating story. Lev Vygotsky said, "Through others, we become ourselves." This week's success strategy: imitate successful people. General Eric Shinseki, the first Asian-American 4-star general and U.S. Army Chief of Staff, said, "If you don't like change, you're going to like irrelevance even less." As a point of fact, the one constant throughout history has been change, and to change, someone always has to be first. Over the years, individuals from some of the unlikeliest of places have stepped forward to challenge the status quo and push the boundaries of what was thought possible. These brave souls have often faced ridicule, skepticism, and sometimes even danger. Their determination to break new ground, however, has reshaped our world in countless ways. On May 6, 1954, at Iffley Road Track in Oxford, England, Roger Bannister accomplished what many believed to be impossible. He became the first person to run a mile in under 4 minutes. His time of 3 minutes, 59.4 seconds shattered not just a record, but also a psychological barrier. Bannister's feat opened the floodgates, proving that the human body was capable of more than we had imagined. In 1980, Vigdis Finnbogadóttir became the president of Iceland, serving for 16 years. She was the first woman elected as leader of a country. Her presidency wasn't just a personal achievement, but also a beacon of hope for women around the world, demonstrating that leadership knows no gender. Finnbogadóttir's election challenged centuries-old notions of governance and paved the way for future female leaders. At the age of 17, Malala Yousafzai was the first teenager awarded the Nobel Peace Prize. Officials recognized her for her courageous advocacy for education and women's rights in her native Pakistan. Despite facing violent opposition, including an assassination attempt, Malala's voice only grew stronger. Her win in 2014 not only highlighted the importance of education for all, but also showed the world the power of youth activism. There are first to discover foreign lands, different species, and cures to diseases. Explorers like Christopher Columbus, James Cook, and Roald Amundsen charted new territories, expanding our understanding of the world. Naturalists like Charles Darwin and Jane Goodall revolutionized our knowledge of life on Earth. Medical pioneers such as Jonas Salk, who developed the polio vaccine, and Alexander Fleming, who discovered penicillin, have saved countless lives through their groundbreaking work. There are first to attempt to fly or advocate new rights or see the world in different ways. The Wright brothers, Orville and Wilbur, achieved the first sustained, controlled, powered flight in 1903, opening up the skies to human travel. Civil rights leaders like Martin Luther King Jr. and Nelson Mandela fought tirelessly for equality and justice, reshaping societies. And artists like Pablo Picasso and Vincent van Gogh challenged conventional perspectives, forever altering the landscape of visual art. And there are firsts to leave this world altogether. After all, exceptional people tend to reach for the stars. The space race of the 20th century saw a new breed of pioneer emerge, astronauts and cosmonauts who dared to venture beyond Earth's atmosphere. Names like Yuri Gagarin, Alan Shepard, and Neil Armstrong became synonymous with courage and exploration, their journeys capturing the imagination of millions and inspiring generations to come. Chaika was such a person, as even the name is unique. Chaika was the first of what are considered Russian dramatist Anton Chekhov's major plays. The word means seagull in several Slavic languages. It is of Hebrew origin and means life. The name is considered good for parents who want a name that is appealing and bold. It is generally used as a boy's name. But young Chaika grew up in a time and society that seemed to be constantly changing, and she would indeed change history. She was born to a poor family on a collective farm. When she was only 2, her father's war death left her mother alone to raise Chaika and her 2 siblings, as well as support them all by working in a textile mill. Leading a seemingly mundane life in a small village, Chaika's days were filled with chores, tending to the farm and dreaming of something greater. The harsh realities of life in a post-war era meant that education often took a back seat to survival. She only attended from the age of 8 until she started working in a tire factory at age 17. A year later, she joined her mother at work in the textile mill. Textile mills are not known to be particularly stimulating places to labor, and the monotony of repetitive tasks can make workdays feel particularly long. But Chaika became fascinated by the machinery and took correspondence courses in order to graduate from technical school. Still, she yearned for more. The confines of factory life could not contain her adventurous spirit, so perhaps that explains why Chaika decided to join the local skydiving club. She fell in love with parachuting and trained almost every weekend, eventually making over 200 jumps over land and into rivers in daylight and darkness. Chaika had an enthusiasm for skydiving that was rare for anyone, especially a woman. This brought her to the attention of government bureaucrats. Often, fate lies in the timing. Following World War II, the Cold War pitted the democratic United States against the communist Soviet Union in an ideological battle, resulting in an arms race that put the world on the precipice of disaster. Space exploration had become the embodiment of human ambition, and the 2 world superpowers were locked in a fierce battle for dominance beyond Earth's boundaries. As tensions grew and each country sought to prove its superiority, one positive emerged: the space race. The Soviets would take the early lead. On October 4, 1957, the Soviet Union shocked the world by successfully launching Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite to orbit the Earth. This beeping metal sphere, no larger than a beach ball, marked the dawn of the space age and sent shockwaves through the American scientific and political establishments. The United States scrambled to catch up, establishing the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, NASA, in 1958. But the Soviets maintained their lead. On April 12, 1961, Soviet cosmonaut Yuri Gagarin became the first human to journey into outer space, completing one orbit of the Earth in the Vostok 1 spacecraft. Gagarin's flight lasted 108 minutes, during which he uttered the now famous words, "I see Earth. It is so beautiful." The space race had captured the world's imagination, and both superpowers were eager to achieve new milestones. The Soviet Union, always looking for ways to demonstrate the superiority of its socialist system, set its sights on another first: putting a woman in space. Looking to beat their greatest rival in a competition the 2 had fought for over a decade, Chaika's government invited her and 4 other women to a special program. There, she embarked on a rigorous training regimen, pushing herself to the limits both physically and mentally. It was a grueling process, but she refused to give up. Day after day, for 18 months, she honed her skills, preparing herself in hopes for the ultimate journey. The training was intense and multifaceted. The women were subjected to centrifuge tests to stimulate the intense G-forces of launch and re-entry. They spent hours in isolation chambers to prepare for the psychological challenges of spaceflight. They studied spacecraft systems, navigation, and space medicine. Throughout it all, Chaika's determination never wavered. She wasn't the top of her class. Her background and demeanor, however, prompted officials to choose her for an extraordinary feat. Chaika's working-class origins made her an ideal candidate in the eyes of Soviet leadership, who saw her as a symbol of the opportunities available to all citizens under socialism. And on June 16, 1963, 26-year-old seamstress Valentina Tereshkova, given the call signal Chaika, blasted off on the Vostok 6, becoming the first woman in space. Ya Chaika, translated, I am Seagull, she excitedly broadcast from her orbiting spacecraft. I see the horizon, a light blue strip, a blue band. This is the Earth. How beautiful it is. Everything goes well. After 49 orbits of the Earth, Tereshkova returned home. Her mission lasted just under 3 days, 2 days, 23 hours, and 12 minutes to be exact. More flight time than all the U.S. Mercury astronauts had flown to that date combined. Upon re-entry, Tereshkova parachuted from her capsule, landing safely in the Altai region of southern Russia. The world celebrated her return, showering her with accolades and honors. Tereshkova became an instant global celebrity as her face adorned magazine covers and postage stamps. She was awarded the title of Hero of the Soviet Union, the nation's highest honor, and received the Order of Lenin. Tereshkova's flight was a powerful propaganda victory for the Soviet Union, showcasing not only its technological prowess, but also its commitment to gender equality. The image of a young woman from a humble background achieving such a monumental feat resonated around the world, inspiring countless girls and women to pursue their dreams, particularly in the fields of science and technology. Sadly, her tremendous feat did not usher in a new era of equality between men and women. It would be nearly 19 years before the next woman, Svetlana Savitskava, would go to space, also in a Soviet mission. This was followed a year later by the first American woman in space, Sally Ride, who flew aboard the Space Shuttle Challenger in 1983. But Valentina Tereshkova broke barriers that have inspired countless others, and she has spent her years as an ambassador for what is possible ever since. After her historic flight, Tereshkova continued her education, graduating from the Zhukovskov Air Force Engineering Academy in 1969 and earning a doctorate in engineering in 1977. Tereshkova remained active in the Soviet Union, later Russian space programs, rising to the rank of Major General in the Soviet Air Force. She also pursued a career in politics, serving as a member of the Supreme Soviet, the highest legislative body in the Soviet Union, and later as a member of the Russian State Duma. Throughout her life, Tereshkova has been a vocal advocate for women's rights and has used her platform to promote science education and space exploration. She has traveled extensively, sharing her experiences and inspiring new generations to reach for the stars. In 2013, at the age of 76, Tereshkova expressed her desire to fly to Mars, even if it meant a one-way trip. This bold declaration, half a century after her groundbreaking flight, demonstrated that the pioneering spirit that propelled her into orbit still burned brightly within her. Indeed, the quiet village girl had become an international icon, forever immortalized in the annals of human achievement. And amidst the fanfare, Chaika, the seagull, has remained grounded, a humble hero for others to hope to emulate. See, friend, inspiration is all around us. You just have to look for it. Thanks for listening. Join us next week for another inspiring story about misfits and crackpots. Misfits and Crackpots is a production of Success Media, produced by Terrence Wishner. Sound effects by Alessandro Lucati, courtesy of Pixabay. Thank you for tuning in. If you love today's story, there's so much more to explore in the book Misfits and Crackpots by yours truly, Dr. Danny Brissell. Grab your copy now on Amazon and dive deeper into the extraordinary lives of those who dared to change the world. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the podcast with fellow misfits who love inspiring stories. See you next time.